Developer at Higher. If you don't know about us, we're actually pretty cool. We connect people with disabilities to support workers. It's kind of like similar tech stack to Airtasker. Yeah, and we're also just generally cool people. I'm going to be talking about full stack Python today, which is obviously pretty weird, but we'll get there. Just a little bit of forewarning. This presentation is purely satire. Don't take anything that I say seriously. Also, don't try this at work. And I'm going to be making a lot of jokes about JavaScript. So if you like JavaScript, I'm really sorry. I feel really sorry for you. Okay, so how did this all start? I was, a little while ago, I get Medium articles and Quora articles and all that kind of stuff fed to my email. And so I was looking through that, and all this stuff started popping up about the advantages of full stack JavaScript. And so I've sort of summarized it a bit here. It was this guy's, Jacob, his Medium article about it. There's a few, he makes a few points. Like number one, everyone in their dev team knows the backend and UI structure. That's not my experience of how development works, but sure. They're able to find front-end and back-end communication issues much faster. Sure, context switching issues, yeah. And code can be shared directly between the back-end and the front-end. That last one I actually think is pretty cool. That's like actually a really nice feature of using the same language on the front end and the back-end. But I had this thought, this is not like a JavaScript thing, right? Like, as in, if you could use any language on the front end or the back end, you get all of this kind of for free. Like, why are we still using JavaScript for this? So I rewrote this list a little bit, and these are the advantages of full stack Python. It's pretty much the same list, but you know, we get an extra benefit, which is no semicolons, which I really like. So just before I go on with this a little bit more, what am I talking about? It might seem a little bit weird to you, and I'm sure you've got a whole bunch of questions. For example, isn't Django plus Django templating full stack Python? Not really. I mean, if you're using that, you're probably using JavaScript as well somewhere, and that's technically your front-end language, I guess. Another question might be, browsers can only run JavaScript, right? Well, yes, but also no. There's ways to get Python running in your browser. There's a whole bunch of libraries available, actually, that either it's people that have either written a Python compiler in JavaScript, or they transpile all of your Python to JavaScript. There's probably other funky things that go on, but they're the two main classes of things that I know about. Probably wondering whether this is a good idea. It is definitely not a good idea. And why on earth would I ever do this? Why not? So whenever I start thinking about ideas like this, my mind immediately goes to, what is the worst, most ridiculous thing that I could possibly do with this? And I had a couple of ideas. You know, I could write a fully functional web application and kind of like just, you know, essentially write vanilla Python in my browser and kind of, you know, in the same way that you would write vanilla JavaScript. But I mean, that's not really far enough, is it? Like, fully fledged web applications these days, they go much further. And so I thought, why not recreate all of React again in Python? So I've kind of done that. I've had a go at doing it. I've called the library Rject. It's on my GitHub if you guys want to clone it. And so when I started this, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? First, I better find out what React is. Luckily for me, the React official website is suitably vague about what React does. It's a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. That's fine. I can build a Python library for building user interfaces. Easy. Also, I noticed that they've just copy-pasted that for the Wikipedia page. Anyway. One problem, I suck at React. I'm not very good. I'm technically a full stack developer. We do have React where I work, but I've been working a lot in Vue, and I much prefer backend and Python. So I started doing a whole bunch of tutorials. So I found this tutorial on building a to-do list app, and this one on building an awesome to-do list app, and this one, a simple to-do list app, this one, and this one. I realized, okay, React is probably the best tool that you could possibly use if you want to build a to-do list app. So I figured if I can build a to-do list app in Rject, then that's a pretty good flex on React, and Facebook's got to be running scan. So how do I do this? Okay, first, the easy part. Install Django REST framework, have a simple CRUD app going. I know you guys probably know exactly how to do this, but I think there's a few people here from my work where we don't use Django, and I kind of wanted to show them how much easier their life would be. So that's my CRUD app. Oh, as a little aside, I figured I should put some actually useful information here as well, apart from my random ramblings. App and project templates are amazing. If you haven't heard about them yet, they're like super cool. Basically, you can create your own app, like style it how you want. You know, when I first create a Django project, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I usually do. I like split out the settings file into like development and production settings and all that kind of stuff. And I hate wasting time on that. So project templates and similarly app templates let you do all of that, save it as like a template, and then you can use this -- template syntax and just install all of your stuff like exactly how you want it. Amazing, awesome time saving. Okay, now the hard part. Where do we even begin on this? Well, first I come up with some rules. They're not great rules. They're pretty kind of general because there's only so many ways you can do this. The API server and the front end server are both in Django. I've actually ended up making it both in one server, so they're both, the API is just one app, and then the front end kind of is another app that just serves a template. Tried to keep the JavaScript as minimal as possible. I myself haven't written any JavaScript in this entire project, although I have had to import some JavaScript libraries, or one JavaScript library that transpiles all of my Python into JavaScript. So therefore, transpiling is okay. There's a whole bunch of JavaScript that actually runs on the browser, but none of it is stuff that I wrote. It's all I'm only writing Python. Styling is okay, but Material UI used a whole bunch of JavaScript, so I thought, let's not use that. And JSX, I'm actually not really sure if JSX is JavaScript. Apparently it's a subset or a superset of JavaScript. I'm going to say that's okay, because I'm not using the normal set of JavaScript. So these are the options. There are a few of them. They're kind of, they all do different stuff. Pyodide, PyPy, and Sculpt, they run after page load. It turns out it's actually not what I wanted. They're the things that put a Python console in your browser and you can sort of type into a console. Not perfect for what I'm doing. Header time, also, they do what I want, but unfortunately, as far as I know, they ship JavaScript to the browser or do similar stuff, whereas I wanted Python running in my browser. So I was left with Brython. Brython is amazing, but also a little bit weird. Okay, so step one, JSX. How do you do this? So I found this library called Pact. It's written in Python 2. Still in alpha, hasn't been touched in 4 years, and it almost works. The first thing I actually messaged this guy on LinkedIn, Michael Jones, to ask him if he thought that it would be suitable to use Pact. He never got back to me. The answer is no, though, it's not. So, I don't know, I downloaded Pact, tried to get it running, updated it to Python 3, which wasn't too hard. But I don't know, it was difficult to get running, but it's actually a pretty admirable effort. Michael Jones actually did a really cool job on this. Okay, so this is like a hello world in Pact. To take you through this, I've repackaged his Pact thing as into my own library. just to kind of, for ease of use and ease of importing. And the idea is that you give your functions a pack decorator, and then you can write this weird not Python in Python, right? So it's similar to how you would do that with JSX in JavaScript, right? So this actually wouldn't compile if you're using the regular compiler, but the beauty of packed is what it does is it first converts whatever's in there to vanilla Python and then executes that. So if we were to run this, oh, spoiler alert, it actually converts it to Python and then prints out exactly what you would expect, which is pretty cool. Like that's an amazing feat. This took me about a day to get working, and I was actually pretty impressed. Number two, this is a little bit different. This is setting a Python variable and then inserting that Python variable into the middle of some HTML. So if you run this, yep, exactly what you would expect. That's pretty cool. It means that we've got a lot of freedom with what we can do with this. Similarly, I guess it also doesn't matter that I'm just like overriding this function because it's going to be whatever the last one is that's defined. So I can actually do this as well, where there's a couple of things going on here. First off, there's actually nested components where we've got this heading component that I've created, which is actually a class-based component, which is something that we haven't seen before either. So that's pretty cool too. If we run that, yep, it works. Awesome. And then finally, props. This is kind of the, I don't know, this is the magic to me. The fact that this is possible and that he's like gone to the trouble of doing this. It actually works, like magic. Okay, so JSX sorted. Surely that's like enough, right? We can just, actually I'll